Good evening, everybody. My name is William Michael Forbes. I want to welcome you to the last in our series of inspirational chats this evening, this week. And tonight I'm going to be bringing to you a gentleman by the name of Matt Panter, who's a medium in training. And he's going to share with us his journey of overcoming fear. Good evening, everybody. My name is William Michael Forbes. I want to welcome you to the last in our series of inspirational chats this week. And tonight I'm going to be bringing a gentleman by the name of Matt. There we go. Go ahead. Two devices on. So Matt Panter has overcome a long-term condition of anxiety and fear. And before I ask him to come on, I just want to share with you some things that you're not or have not maybe been taught in school. And that is, as a soul, as an awareness, there are three fundamental parts of your body and mind and emotions that you need to understand. And you've got these three parts to work with. The first part is your physical body. It's the mechanism, it's the vehicle that you use while you're existing through matter in time and space. The body is your vehicle for articulating your creative expression through. It's not who you are, it's the vehicle that we use to articulate our creation while in this dimension of matter, time, and space. In addition to your body, you have this other part of your nature called your mind, which is the storehouse of all your thoughts, memories, information, and experiences, including past lifetimes. All of that is stored in your mind. This third component that you have as a mechanism is your emotions or your energy. They're the substance, the stuff that you use to articulate expressions in matter, time, and space. Emotion causes matter to respond. Emotion causes matter to respond. And then there's this part of you that is you, called the soul. And you as the soul, or some like to use the term awareness, you as a soul are able to orchestrate or conduct the activities of the mind, the emotions, and the body, to coordinate them effectively and deliberately in a unified process of creation, allowing yourself to manifest in time and space experiences that you want to have, places you want to go, or whatever you want to be. You get to articulate that creation and that expression from the perspective of what you are as an awareness or a soul. Your mind, your emotions, and your body are the mechanisms that you utilize while living in a physical dimension of time and space. You as an awareness function independent of time and space, but are interacting with it continually while using your mind, your emotions, and your body. When either your body, your emotions, or your mind are not functioning the way you need them to, if they are not under your dominion and articulating the way you need them to, you will find yourself struggling or suffering. When you learn to alter and change your mind, your emotions, and your body through an act of your soul, your consciousness, your imagination, your creation, your five non-physical senses, you can begin to change and alter the way mind, emotions, and body work on your behalf. Many people find themselves struggling with a body and a mind and emotions that seem to be working against them. But let us assure you that your mind and your body and your emotions are not operating against you. They have simply not been trained to function for you. Somebody else may have trained them, and you are now operating on their training rather than what you would like to be doing, thinking, feeling, and behaving. Liberation and freedom from suffering, especially emotionally, comes from your ability to articulate deliberate and intentional changes in thought, emotion, and body. And when you coordinate those three deliberately and intentionally, you will liberate yourself from all suffering and move yourself into the realm of creation or causing effects in your life rather than feeling like something in life is happening to you all the time. When you are in the position of your soul, you orchestrate creation. When you're subjective to mind and body and emotions, you feel like you are subjective to the world. And it is our goal to inspire you to some degree this evening with Matt's story and what you hear, that you can assume authority over your mind and your emotions and your body without having to subjugate them to drugs, isolation, and disconnect. There is a way to unite these three things to work on your behalf. And we hope that by the end of this evening, you'll have an understanding that it is possible for you and anyone to learn to do this without having to artificially change the body or mind, chemically or otherwise, in order to put it into subservience or into service of you. You are meant to be the master of that temple that you find yourself sitting there and listening to in this. And I want to welcome everybody here tonight. And I want to welcome Matt Panter to this show. Thank you, Matt, for coming on live with me. I really appreciate you coming on. And I know you've been a student in our mediumship courses this last round. And I believe you started off, did you not take Kristen Davies mediumship courses a while back?
Yes, I've taken many courses with Kristen and still take courses with Kristen because it's just a priceless experience to learn from someone like her. And I love Kristen with all my heart. She's helped me with so many issues. And then, when I came to your course, I want to talk about the things that you've helped me with. And the people in your course are great too. But you have a different style. You have like meditations and guided meditations. And I never liked to meditate actually. And then your meditations are so fun and easy. And over time, I started to enjoy it because coming out of your meditations, it's like the feeling is of euphoria and bliss is just something I've never felt before.
Wonderful. Now you had mentioned to me that you had also been dealing with a lot of high anxiety for a long time in your life. And can you tell us a bit about when that started and what that created for you and what's changed as a result of what you've done?
Well, from the age of 19, I started noticing my third eye was coming on, and it was pretty strong, but it just stayed there. It kind of just felt like a bubble that would move in and out of my head, like a guitar string vibration. And so I knew this was going on, but I didn't know what it was. I went to a Hindu temple to talk to a guy there because I'd only ever heard of third eye from the Hindus. And he took me this huge mural upstairs with Jesus and Krishna holding hands, walking over water. And then he taught me a mantra about Lord Shiva. And I didn't know it at the time, but Krishna and Shiva stayed with me from then on and were guiding me in unseen ways. And my first medium teacher was 10 years ago. His name was Tim Allingham, and he was from England. He was a yoga instructor. And his biggest thing he always raved about was he would say yes and thank you. And he said, Matthew, whenever anyone wants to give you something, always say yes and thank you, because that is that person's opportunity to give. And don't take that away from them. Take it with love and grace. And Tim told me, he said, Matthew, you know that whatever you do has a big impact and can set forth a ripple in your life for many years. And you're cautious with what you do because you know that. And I didn't know really what he meant at the time, but deep within me, I knew that my thoughts could cause things to happen. And like the Native Americans doing rain dances, I always knew that was true. And you and Norma have talked about experiences like that too. But so I didn't understand how this connection was. I just knew that I had a lot of thoughts in my head, and wild thoughts, random thoughts, fearful thoughts, things I didn't understand, or why am I always angry and afraid, and not knowing what's going on, and so that built up into an anxiety and worrying, health worries, overthinking, just letting my mind go out of control. And so I read a book on Saint Germain, and they mentioned the violet flame, and they had the violet flame in there, and I always was very drawn to that. And so I got back into that and started using that. And then one night, astrally, I heard a man and a woman talking about me, and they said, we have to get him to study under Archangel Michael. And I heard that clear as day, and I didn't know who those people were, but they were my guardian angels. And I didn't know that at the time, but I got a book on Archangel Michael, started reading about him. And then I saw Kristen Davies on YouTube. I was looking up Kuan Yin, and Kristen was channeling Kuan Yin. And the moment that I saw Kristen's face, I instantly knew that I had to make this woman my teacher. I didn't even know she taught courses or anything. I just knew, and that was queer cognizance was what that was, some kind of download. So I knew I had to do this, but it was like a few weeks before our next course began. So I was going to chicken out, but at the last minute, man, I signed up and just, went for it and just worked hard, to study for those 2 weeks. And it was stuff that I'd never even thought of or heard of. And I started getting the ability to feel, spirits around me. And I've been familiar with spirits since I was 19, because I spent some time, I lived in a haunted house for 4 years. And it was a spirit of a little girl who would come into the house, and she could move things around. And I would just know that she was there because I would get a feeling just out of the blue, and I would just know. So that was my first, experience. So I knew that this stuff something was going on there. So that was also part of anxiety. But, I stayed in that house, and I learned, that everything was okay, and, went on from there. But read lots of spiritual books, but in one book about Krishna, it was talking about that you need an approved or a qualified teacher, or you won't understand the deepest teachings of, you can read these texts. So I would read stuff like Buddha talking about nothingness. I wouldn't understand it. And then when I got into your courses, your meditations would give me experiences, and the experience would come from beyond you and me. And so, over 3 weeks, I would get these experiences. One time I was floating through some city under the earth, like just flashed out, and it was just so amazing. And then your 102 was about the present moment and releasing past dense emotional energies from the body. And I'd never ever heard of anything like this, where an electrical charge that is in the body, and the charge is emotion, and the thoughts can direct the emotion, but the thoughts won't have much impact if there's not a big emotion behind it. But the emotion can be a trigger, and it can be from multiple lifetimes, and it can come up, and it's like that tape pattern that just keeps repeating. And this is what I noticed that, had been going on with me and lots of people I knew. Same. So I started just doing your techniques, and it worked. The first one we did was Archangel Raphael, and it was a technique of transcendence where you breathe out in this big, physical motion standing up, and you got up on a chair and or on your couch and was showing everybody. And that was the first time, because I had a massive trigger happen that I was just so angry. And when I would have triggers, I would be angry for 2 or 3 days, and then it would come back over weeks of time, So it would, but that one left, and I knew it had left because I was able to go to sleep that night, and I still had to work on it some more a little bit, but that made an impact. And from Kristen's courses, I started feeling things like chords coming out of my head. I didn't understand really what that was. And Saint Germain, you were channeling Saint Germain, and he was saying that the cord will come out, and then the cord will change, like the person or the thing on the other end of the cord will change what it's doing once the cord comes out. But I had no idea what he was talking about. I just knew that the cord was coming out because I could feel it. Once I actually practiced enough and started releasing this like consciously, not just my angels like pulling it out somehow, I guess with the ascension frequencies and the violet flame. But it was
can I just clarify what he's talking about for those of you that are here for the first time, or you're just watching, or this seems new to you? When he's talking about chords, and correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, whenever you have an experience with anything or anyone in this physical dimension, or people on non-physical dimensions, you form an energy connection with them. Your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, the dog, the cat. We form actual electrical connections with them. And that connection is consisting of all of the experiences and feelings that we have with that individual and they have with us. And they can be good and they can be bad.
Yes.
And when we recognize those attachments and energy that don't serve us, fear, anger, guilt, shame, sadness, those are connections we don't want to have with people. So we let that energy out of the system. There's a way you can actually let those attachments, those cords, that energy, disconnect the negative energy from the system, so that the only connections you're having then with those people shifts from negative to positive, because you're not attached to the negative. Is that correct to say, Matt?
Yeah. So what I found out when I came into your course, and this technique takes 3 weeks to learn. Like you were taught it by the Ascended Masters, and then they're teaching it through you to us. But there's a process of 3 weeks, and I didn't know what I was doing during those 3 weeks. I just listened to you and did what you told me to do the meditations. And the meditation's real easy, but you work up to it. You don't just, and you don't analyze what this stuff is about. You just learn to release it. You learn to release the emotion. And
when did you feel the first significant change with realizing I don't have to keep holding on to this anymore? When did you have that first awareness, and what did you feel the moment you realized you could just let it go like that? What was that like for you?
Well, I think what it was is I as a man, I did not know how to process emotions at all, or maybe I did, but I would hold on to everything. I didn't know I was holding on to it though, but it was coming in. I was holding on to it. Like you were saying, the hand doesn't know how to open, but the hand didn't know how to open because I was thinking that I was the hand and body and not my awareness. And your meditations taught me that I am the awareness that makes the body move. And I'm the thinker of thoughts. I can control my thoughts. It's not the other way around. And there was a meditation that we did on Patreon, the 7th at 7. And this was a meditation where we were, sending love to the world. But when I went in that meditation, I got really paranoid and fearful. And I had this massive wave of fear like come up on me. And it was something I'd never experienced anything that strong before. And, I raised my hand and I was like, excuse me, sir. I actually did the exact opposite of what we were supposed to do. What do I do? And Jesus told me to bring it back and to anoint my fear with love. And it was me doing it. And I anointed that fear, that actual energy that I was feeling come to me and that was upsetting me. I anointed it with my love, and it kind of like just poof, like, and I felt like uplifted. And Jesus said, you now understand the alchemical process of turning water into wine. And that was like just so profound to me, because it wasn't Jesus pulling me out of it. It was something that I was doing. And I actually had like those kinds of waves come back a few more times, but I got better and better at it. And now I had like one come in one of your meditations like not long ago, but I was so quick at just doing it. It was like it almost never even fazed me. And then like I noticed people in my life, I would work on these triggers for 2 months. I worked on 3 triggers, and these were triggers that from people that they had been behaving this way for years. And for whatever reason, these triggers just really irked me. And so I just patiently worked on doing it. And your program, the 102 and the 103 builds on it, but it gave me multiple techniques and tools. And for some triggers, I would have to use one technique. For others, I would use another, 3 or 4 or 5 different ways to discharge this emotional energy, which is like, it's like voltage coming out of my head, man. It's something that I can feel physically, but that's due to practice with the mediumship courses from Kristen and from your course. And what else was I saying here?
I just want to clarify, just so when
the 3 triggers. I didn't understand when Saint Germain said that the person on the other end would change their behavior. So these cords that I was trying to release, it took me practice about 2 months. But once I had released these cords, all 3 of these people completely stopped their behavior that was pissing me off. I mean, they just like they just stopped. And I was actually like kind of wanting them to do it again, because I was like, it's like I was a puppet and they were a puppet, and we were connected with strings, and they would move their hand, I'd move mine. And I'm like, I'm not liking this. Like this does not feel good. Like this person is making me react this way. But once I released the trigger, it was gone. And there was a book that I read, multiple books said like, whatever you don't like in the other person is something that you don't like in yourself. And it's because that energy that is built up within you, it can jump across from them to you as long as it's there. But once it goes up and out, they stop doing it because they don't have that energy to give you. Like it can't come to you.
You literally cut the strings of that connection between you and them, so that behavior can't function anymore. You brought truly great points up. Like Master Jesus says that very clearly. Changing water into wine is literally learning how to change the energy that you're dealing with, that you're creating your life with, and changing it from one state to another. So you can literally take the energy of fear and change it into the energy of joy. Literally, you can take the energy of sadness and turn it into playfulness. You literally learn to transmute energy from one state into another. And then that other point is forgiveness, like really letting go of those emotions. You're literally letting go of that attachment to that person and that energy. And they can't behave that way anymore because that attachment's not there anymore. I love
understanding what you taught. Understand that the body is an animal body, that it is an animal that I am inhabiting, and that this, this animal, it has a mind and it has a body. And if you let the mind just keep going off out of control, it's kind of like if you give a computer like unlimited resources, it becomes kind of a artificial intelligence, and it can become animated enough to where you can't tell the difference between you and that energy. But once you do enough meditation and quieting the mind down, you can recognize the difference, and then you can start releasing that stuff. And my angels were releasing stuff like automatically, but some stuff I had to, it took work on my end to get it to go. And those were the major things that really bothered me the most. But yeah, it's made such a huge difference in my life, because I'm like just bypassing any kind of fearful thoughts, and they just get reduced and reduced and reduced. And
it's not and you're not repressing it. You're not hiding it. You're literally releasing it completely.
Right. But with your course teaching, the fundamental, that your body and mind are fundamental functional instruments, that was what allowed me to step back and, let it go. Because, my body is an animal body, and the animal, if you poke an animal with a stick, somebody's like poking an animal with a stick, it's going to get angry. And so I have to be patient and loving with my body, because my body is experiencing this 3D world and doesn't know that my past, emotions, it doesn't have to hold on to.
Yeah.
And that this is connected with health problems is what was just so incredible. I mean, like when you start seeing this, you start seeing that the spirit is trying to communicate this message to everybody. Like it's in songs and videos and things that you never thought about before. Oh, you're muted. You're muted, William. You're muted.
In our past, we can't hear them, and we're stuck in another time, literally. And once we start to let go of that attachment to the body being in charge, and our emotions being in charge, and our memories being in charge, and we realize, wait a minute, that's not where I am anymore. That was a year ago, or 10 years ago, or a lifetime ago. I can let that go. And when we start to move away from what we're attached to from the past, we actually open up our senses, our awareness, our inner clairs, clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, claircognizance, begin to open up as we release our attachment to our past. And then we start to see, feel, hear, and know these beings around us. And I know you've experienced that as time's gone on from the very beginning with your first mentor, and you start experiencing that. When we start to look inward as opposed to outward, we start to hear what the ears can't hear, and we start to see what the eyes can't see, and we start to feel what the body can't feel. And that really empowers, it empowers anybody to move forward. It's great.
Yeah, and I want to mention too that your course, it's not analyzing it; it's learning to release it from a distance, and like stepping back from the system and letting it exit the system. It's not about going into it and understanding why or what's going on there, even though sometimes I will get like an inkling or something, but that's not relevant right now. And I just, focus on releasing it. But there's people who are professional mediums who came into your course because they were told to learn, this releasing. And it was just so profound and mind blowing to see other people who were so such amazing mediums also in this course.
It has been mind blowing watching all of us. Me too. When they work through me, I'm growing with everybody else. This is like courses where you have ascended masters working with you for 3 to 9 weeks, depending on which courses you take, that you literally experience their energy. We all get to experience that. And it's available to anybody who learns to shift their perception enough to become aware. I like what Buddha always says. He says, when you understand what the sound of one hand clapping means, you'll be free. Because what happens when you consider that idea, it shuts your mind off. I remember the first time he said that to me, and I realized what he meant. That it was really about learning to get this mind quiet.
And I had heard that saying multiple times in books, but I didn't understand it until I was with you. And now we're actually doing it and experiencing it in a meditation with Buddha. And, I also want to tell people, I thank you so much for doing Patreon, because I tell everybody, you got to join Patreon to see William in the group, because when he is in the group and there's people interacting with him, it's full on. I mean, your personality is like in the backseat in a way is very, it's hard to understand where it begins and ends. And then you said that memory actually interferes with you in that state. So you don't remember a lot of these things that are said to us, like Saint Germain and Archangel Michael. And when you channel Mother Mary, it was like you were totally different. You were talking about stuff that you've never said before. And it was incredible. And Mother Mary came to me that night after that meditation. And, I was so humbled, and I seen her for like a split second. I was like bright blue, and she was smiling in there at my feet. And I was like, Mother Mary just touched my foot.
It's amazing. And the thing is, you're experiencing that too, because we all have that ability to. They're individuals like we are. They just aren't in a physical plane. When we can shift our awareness, we can actually tune into them. One of the things I love about being able to do this and being an open channel for these beings is it doesn't matter where I begin and they end. What's important is being able to allow what needs to come through to the people that are there to receive it. Because I don't know what's going to happen. There's no planning in any of those events. But it's been really amazing. I love Mother Mary. Her energy, when I remember the sensation. That's one thing I always seem to remember. When they come through me, I always remember the quality of their being, and her energy is so comforting for me, and yet clear, and this is trying to have words to describe something that is experienced is interesting. But all of them, Master Jesus, Archangel Michael, Master Saint Germain, Raphael, they all have their own unique and distinct energy. And I'm literally feel like I'm sitting on the side watching, like I'm in the audience watching, and I get to participate in what's happening with you guys too. Like I actually get to participate in these meditations while they're doing the meditations. That's a phenomenal experience. And when you start to open yourself up to like being able to experience Mother Mary touching your foot, or having Krishna come to you.
Oh, I want to tell the time the time I got where it became I got the Band-Aid ripped off, as Kristen says. I was in Kristen's 102, and Kristen had channeled my guardian angels came to her, and we channeled Krishna in her 101. Then I was in her 102, so this was the second time with Kristen, and my female guardian angel, like Kristen said, she could hear her like word for word, very, very clearly. And my female guardian angel, like Kristen was practicing with me, and she was saying some words, but then the angel switched up the words, the order of the words, and Kristen said it like the angel said it. Well, that gave me a secret message that only I could understand. But as soon as I understood the message, Kristen understood the message too, but Kristen could not stop her body language. But she turned, looked at the angel, and the angel was like, well, you better turn around before he's going to see. And she turned back, and that was the moment where that night after that, man, I went outside and was like, Archangel Michael, you guys are real. I mean, it's like, you're here. There's angels with me. It's, that was the experience for me. But
that's an amazing revelation. I know Kristen does beautiful work with people. We love her and the work that she's done. And I know a lot of her students come to us and vice versa. It's an amazing journey. And everybody gets to experience it and express it in their own unique way once you get out of your way, because what they'll say through you might be very different than they'll say through Kristen or me. And it really
is. Yeah. And so, I had, like, when I came in your course, there was things that, Kristen had said. There was a lot of things I, hadn't heard. But when some things that you would explain, I would understand it. And then some things that you would say, I couldn't understand, and Sharona would say it, and then I would understand it from Sharona. So it was like, I don't know. It's that learning process.
It couldn't happen without everybody involved, because there's such the group dynamic really drives a lot of what happens, what they'll bring through, and everybody gets their own kind of message too, like you were describing, that you can get your own message while people are getting a completely different message at the same time. That whole multi-dimensional reality is like mind-blowing when you realize they're saying one thing through us, and then others will hear something completely different that they need. It's such a blessing and a gift. And
I want to say, you and Norma and Chico and Con and Joe Goldsmith, Michael and Desiree and Christy, I think, and Sharona. I mean, like, you've all been so helpful, and like the course itinerary. I mean, it's all the way down, like, what, I think 9 pages for the 101, 102, and 103 the last time, just, events. And it's like, there's so much to learn in your courses. And I was really busy with my work and stuff. So, I'm taking your courses again, and, I feel like I just now am understanding some of the stuff that I'm trying to learn from you. But
it is an intense program. It's really not for the faint of heart. If you're willing to surrender your suffering, then you want to come to these courses. It's because you're going to give it up one way or another. They'll ensure that you give it up. That's what it's designed.
Yeah, and you and Norma are so caring and gracious, and, like, I mean, you are open for anyone in the course to ask you stuff. Because I know I had to message you. I was like, "Sir, I got these burning cords and chains coming out of me, and is everything okay? I need," and you're like, "Oh yeah, everything's fine. You're just needing to bringing your mind and body back into alignment with who you are, and we're going to help you." And it was like, I felt so relieved and grateful that I could come to you directly and get that response, because
like I said, it's an honor and a privilege. Like I say, I'm honored to be able to do what I do. And again, as you earlier mentioned, most of the time I don't remember what happens in detail. I'll get bits and pieces that I need to get, but everybody gets what they need to get. It really is not for me. It's for everybody who's there to learn.
Yeah, and I never could. Diet for me was a huge one. I never thought I could change the way I ate. I mean, I already wasn't eating meat before I came in, but I wasn't eating good otherwise. But then I would see you and Con and Chico. Chico's teaching Sun Food Living, and Chico's in the Philippines without a care in the world, and he's got this table, like, with a pile of fruit on it, man, and he's passionate about teaching people how to eat. And over time, me being, like, with you guys, I was like, no, I can do this too. And I was like, the first time the other day, man, I ate a raw radish and mushroom, and just told my body, this is love. I'm giving you love. And
yeah, his program is amazing. It's one of the best programs for transitioning from old school eating to natural, organic, rejuvenating eating. It's one of the best programs I've ever come across, and it's the simplest. I mean, this whole concept of fasting and how to make that transition, that you're actually already, just by going to bed at night, you're actually in a process of healing your body. Yeah, I love the way he does that. And in the program, he takes us into each different meal plans each day for the duration of the 101 and the 102 course. It's been amazing watching that. And yeah, like you said, the mediums, Desiree and Christy and Joe and Michael and Con, all of it.
Phil May, yeah, Phil May. This is one I almost forgot here. Yeah, I want to mention Sharona, though. So I got a reading from Sharona. I got her Activator bundle package. Yeah. I had no idea. I didn't know what this was going to be, but Sharona draws light language into a picture, and she does like card readings, and she does this activator that it was like colors and patterns that I knew came from my soul. And she had, you know, a light language video. She had videos like a light language initiation. She had singing bowls that she channeled from my guardian angel to play these singing bowls. And she played like 3 songs, you know, and gave me like a layout of what I'm supposed to do. And it was this super massive, heavy duty reading that I had no idea was coming, but she told me things that I knew were true because it was the way that I've been operating ever since like my childhood. And, you know, I just wanted to recommend that to anybody who can, you know, do that or wants to take it to the next level. It's divine love channeling with Sharona. It's the activator.
I always call her Sharona, and she's really, really, really solid. We've got some great mediums in our program, professionals that are really up there, and they go off and they do amazing things with their lives, and they take this work to a whole new level, which is what it's about. That's why they're bringing all this through to all of us at this time. It is time of the great awakening, but we have to choose it. We have to choose to want to wake up, and you can. If you're in suffering, it's because you're asleep. If you're suffering, you're asleep.
They said that you know, love, joy, playfulness that's your soul, yeah. And then fear, anger, frustration, that's all emotions that are, you know, associated with this world that we're temporarily, you know, in this body. But I think in one of Christian's books said, or I think it was Srimad Bhagavatam, it was talking about the whole thing is a spiritual world. We just don't know it because we're under the influence of the senses, like a drug, and then we learn to wake up to it.
Yes, that's a really great way to put it, and it's true. We get addicted to our senses or the outside world, and we got to wake up the inner senses to get liberated from the outer senses. Are you open to taking some questions tonight?
Yeah, absolutely.
Got a question from Khan. Are you still pulling out those big cords?
Not as big as has happened. One time, Goddess Callie pulled one out of me, man, that was like, it was like 8 foot tall and bigger around than my whole body. It was like a glowing red thing. And Goddess Callie, man, she's super ambitious so I was like there, I didn't know if I was gonna like make it, but you know, she got it out of me. But that was before I understood what was going on. But this stuff started happening with me because I was using the violet flame so much. I didn't understand the violet flame was so powerful either. I mean,
it is pretty powerful. I'm sorry, I was just feeling Callie's energy as you were talking about her. She was like hovering around me and saying, "Hey there, I'm right here anytime."
Yeah, Callie is one of my main guides. Callie is my main guide, I think, and Callie is a goddess who helps with fear, and that was the main thing that I was having to get past. And when we did John the Baptist, and you know, I merged with the nothingness like I was in some undersea current, and you know, I was, you know, just bypassing my fear because I know that fear is not me. That fear is not who I am. I'm a being of light and love. My body's an innocent animal. It's just all ignorance of the world, and I can just let that go. But, you know, it was like you talking about, it's a process of learning who your parent is, like a child learns. And, you know, as when I felt the nothingness, it wasn't nothingness, it was possibilities. That was what I got, but I couldn't understand any more than that. It's possibilities. That was what I understood. But it never left after that. Yeah.
Yeah, that process of that nothingness, like you can't, what you know does not let you know what you don't know, because there's a lot more about what you don't know than you do know. When you let go of what you don't know, what you let go of what you do know, you actually move into this limitless potential, which is that nothingness. It's everything else outside of what we know. It's
yeah, I would hear people like, you know, talking about it and all the time. And I was like, well, I don't understand. But, you know, you took me through that. Your meditations just got me closer and closer and closer. And it was like, you said, it's like, you know, one foot in front of the other. Like this is a learning to walk. And in the beginning, I was yelling. It was like I was a newborn. My body was a newborn baby, and I was yelling at it, you know, get up and walk already. But it takes time and patience. And, you know, you wouldn't treat a baby that way, but we treat our bodies that way when we don't understand.
So true. So true. Let's see if we got any more questions. Another question from Khan. What's next for you?
Oh man, just keeping on practicing, keeping on learning. It's like Sonic Kamara was saying, he was talking about the seeds in the earth, and I'm poking out through the soil finally, and, you know, asking them, you know, who am I? And like, come on up more.
Gee, you are you. That's wonderful. Wow. I am so grateful that you took the time out of your schedule to do this with me, Matt. It means a lot. And what would you say to anybody out there that's finding themselves stuck in anxiety and fear? What would you offer them as a step forward for their liberation from that?
Oh, you know, come into the course and learn, you know, how to breathe it out, and you know, do these guided meditations. And the thing is, you don't have to understand what you said. You don't have to know what you're doing. You just have to do what you're doing to understand it. And it is like that. It's kind of paradoxical, but, you know, it works. You just have to try it and keep at it. Give it a fair chance. And, you know, it takes 3 weeks before, you know, to go through that learning process. But man, 3 weeks to learn this technique, I would have paid any money for it, to be honest. I mean, if I had no idea what I was going to learn, but now I see people all the time, man, and they're triggering and, you know, doing these behaviors and going through this dance. And now I'm, you know, I'm getting free of that. I'm, you know, seeing that I'm a being of light and love. I'm not controlled by my thoughts and, you know, fears and worries that, you know, I just created in ignorance. I just didn't know that I was creating them. You know, I was creating these thought forms and they were coming back, and, you know.
A lot of people don't realize that their thoughts create outcomes in their life. A lot of people don't realize that. And it's funny, you also release attachment. You learn to release it, get it detached from those people that cause triggers.
Oh yeah, and also my dreams, man. Like I'll have dreams where, like, this crazy dream, I have some really weird emotion, and I'll release that emotion. And I think that came because it was in my dream. You know, it's like.
Yeah. Amazing. Let it go. For anybody who's interested in the courses and classes, please go to my website, williammichaelforbes.com /courses. The courses begin the 28th of August, and you've got a couple more days that you can register for. The first actual orientation happens on Saturday. our first live lesson happens with Desiree Nicole Thompson on Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please don't wait. You did not come here to suffer. You came here to be happy and fulfilled and freely able to create the life of your dreams. To have a body that serves you, to have a mind that gives you peace, to have emotions that are still and quiet and serve you creatively and effectively. So I invite you to do that. And again, Matt, I'm so grateful for your
Yes,
coming.
please come join us. It's a blessing and honor
I look forward to seeing
to
the
be
course
here with
again.
everybody.
Yeah, we'll be together again for another few weeks. It's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's training, man. I think it's like training under Kristen, training under you, and we're going through the training. It's like, it's amazing.
It is. Much love, everybody. Much love, Matt, and we'll see you in a couple of days.
Thank you. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
Have a great night. You're very welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on.